Hello, lovely people of the internet. You are listening to Just a Chat. I'm Brian from NintendoEverything.com, and Dan has joined me once again to discuss the latest Nintendo news.
For a time is a charm.
Yep, we are bringing you back after we had Austin last week to talk about some of the mobile stuff that Nintendo is doing, but we have a new set of news pieces to talk about, and of course Nintendo just had to screw up all the plans I had because I had a few things that we were going to talk about and everything, but then at around 6 p.m. Eastern, Nintendo put out this video, and they said on Twitter that Eiji Aonuma, who's the producer of the Zelda series, has a message. And I'm like, alright, this definitely means delay. And of course, as you go through the video, that's basically what it said. And we know now that Zelda Wii U is not really expected this year, and should be coming out next year instead.
Well, that's not technically what he said.
It's pretty much what he said, because after that...
No, he never uttered that. He never uttered the words, "This is definitely coming to 2016." He uttered the words, "2015 is not the main goal anymore."
He kind of danced around using the word or term 2016, but I think we all know it's not coming this year.
Well, again, for me personally, we'll see. It might be an if-if situation where maybe it progresses far along enough that, because they're not going to E3 this year, maybe it progresses far enough along that point that we might see it at the very tail end of this year. But I can very well see it being next year. There's a very strong possibility now.
I want to say it's 90% that's not coming out this year.
Well, here's the thing. With Nintendo, you're never sure when stuff is coming out, so I don't know.
True. I just don't think it's coming this year because, you kind of said that it's not going to be shown at E3, and it's not going to be at this year's E3. I mean, I just don't see it coming out within, the 6 months, sometime within those 6 months this year.
I'm really bummed about that specifically because I'm going to E3. One of the reasons was particularly looking at the new Zelda. But if that new Zelda is not there, not even in this behind the scenes presentation, what has Nintendo to show at this year's E3?
That's one of the good topics that kind of comes out of this. I mean, I'm sure they're going to talk about Xenoblade Chronicles X a little bit, Mario Maker, maybe Yoshi's Woolly World. Let's see. What else do they have?
It kind of depends because I have the feeling next week there will be a Nintendo Direct.
Mm-hmm.
I have a really strong feeling that there will be. And I say that for a few reasons. There was a listing for Azure Striker Gunvolt in Europe, which is now removed. And the only time this happened before is when a Nintendo Direct happened on that same day.
Mm-hmm.
Another good indication is that there are virtually no digital releases in Japan next week.
That's true. There's only one Wii U game or something? I can't remember.
One 3DS eShop game.
Yeah, well, that was it. One 3DS eShop game.
Yeah, and usually there are 3 virtual console releases every single week in Japan.
Yep.
And not having anything there makes it super suspicious.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people have just been saying that's coming. There's a lot of Twitter talk.
The last couple of weeks I didn't really believe it. And next week I can totally see though, because the stars are kind of aligned that way.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a few things behind the scenes that also kind of make me wary about it, because I saw some Box Boy footage pop up on, for example, on a few YouTube channels, so that's also maybe a slight indication that something is up there.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if, Box Boy came out within one of those Nintendo Directs.
Yeah. I honestly think that if there's a Nintendo Direct next week are the best chances for it.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. But they might be talking about some stuff that's related to the June-July period.
Mm-hmm.
They did this also last year and the year before, where they talk about the Nintendo Direct that happens within the first 3 months of that summer period. For example, I can totally see that something like Yoshi Woolly World could come out in June-July.
Yep, that's very possible.
Yeah. So that would be kind of moved away from the occasion of E3. It still would be playable, but there wouldn't be a large focus on it. And I'm kind of wondering what the focus of E3 will be if they don't have anything particularly new to show.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Zelda Wii U was the one big game that everyone was looking forward to, and it was going to be a blowout because it was supposedly coming this year, but now it's not happening.
Yeah, it's not even being shown at E3, which is even more crazier.
Yeah, that's
Because
that's more surprising to me than the game actually being delayed, honestly.
yeah, I mean, I could understand the game being delayed, but not showing it to E3 is really crazy to me because that's the sole reason many people are really excited still about the Wii U. Like, there are some games that I'm more excited about. Like, I'm more excited about Splatoon and Xenoblade Chronicles X. But for a bunch of people, particularly the Zelda fanbase, they are more excited about what Zelda Wii U could bring.
Yep.
And not being able to see it for a while longer is not particularly a good move.
Yeah, it's not good. I mean, I'm sure they're going to show Star Fox, right?
Star Fox. Yeah, we don't know much about that either.
Other than that, I don't entirely know what they'll show.
No, I'm honestly not sure. They will probably do some 3DS localizations like they did yesterday. Like they will announce Fantasy Life, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Because they need to surprise us somewhere. But I'm not sure, really. I'm really not sure at this point. And that kind of concerns me.
Let me ask you two questions. Since we're not seeing Zelda Wii U at E3, when do you think we're going to see it again?
If any shape or way or form this year, I would say in a Nintendo Direct in the fall.
That would be interesting. I still feel like it's crazy, though, how we saw footage at the Game Awards, and now we're not even seeing anything at all. That just blows my mind.
Yeah, that footage was a bit rough.
True.
It was a rough cut of what Zelda Wii U could be. Let's be real honest here. We have not seen a real full slice of gameplay. It's just a tease that we saw at the Game Awards. And while it was a full lengthy tease, and we did see what the game will potentially be in real time, that doesn't mean that the full game is like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of need to see more. And we might see a trailer at E3. They never said anything about that, but don't expect like really extensive stuff at E3, sadly.
Let me ask you something else, because this has been kind of popping up on my Twitter feed, and I'm seeing it on forums, and there's speculation that maybe they're going to bring the game to NX, which is Nintendo's new platform.
Like, the last time they did that was with the Wii, and they didn't really do anything like that with Wii U. It could potentially be the case. I'm not saying it couldn't, but at the same time, it's really hard to say now when Zelda Wii U releases.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've believed for a very long time that it would actually be 2015. And now being kind of disappointed by it, you really have to wonder about it. Like, the game, let's say, for goodness sake, that it is indeed coming in 2016. Well, it will be. I would say it would still probably come in the first half of the year if they don't really delay it another few times.
I'm kind of leaning towards it not being on NX myself. And that's because, first of all, you don't even know that it's a console.
Yeah, that's what I'm pretty much saying, because I'm saying it will be like maybe in the first half of next year.
Yeah, that's another thing. We may not even see NX until like 2017, so...
Well, they said they will talk about it next year.
Yeah,
So like with the Wii U and the GameCube and with the Wii before it, they will definitely show us a concept of what the console looks like and what this is capable of. If NX will release this year, oh heck no.
Yep.
For that it's just way too early.
Yep. Alright, so I think we've talked about Zelda quite extensively. I mean, it was disappointing news, but, I mean, they're gonna make a better game, right?
Yeah. They can only hope that they have something to replace that big slot in November with.
Yeah, I do wonder what's gonna come up in that November slot.
Because Xenoblade cannot be it, because it's too niche. Like, even though I'm super excited about that game, not everybody is gonna like that game.
Yeah, and I feel like it's going to be out by the summer, personally.
I don't necessarily believe that. I think it's more a September thing.
Maybe. I feel like it could have been August, maybe, but it's definitely not going to be a holiday title.
No, it's not going to be the holiday title. I know that for a certain. And I'm not sure if Star Fox has that same staying power. Like in comparison to Super Mario 3D World and Smash Wii U a year later, I'm not sure it has the same appeal.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see.
And I think they're going to announce some things at E3, right?
We don't know. That's the thing. We don't know.
I feel like they have to. There has to be something.
They really have to, but it's not like it's a guarantee that they will.
Alright, well, I guess we'll see what happens, because E3 is actually pretty close. It's only like a couple of months away, or something like that.
It's a bit less than 3 months.
Yeah. Alright, let's talk about an interview that came up earlier in the week with Satoru Iwata, which is Nintendo's CEO and president. And he said a few interesting things, one of which was that about the next Netflix Wii U rumors, and that is that he was basically saying that he can't really talk about anything they're doing with their intellectual properties, but he can say that the article wasn't based on correct information. So I don't really think it's happening based on what he said.
Yeah, I don't think it's happening either.
Are you happy about that, or do you not care?
I honestly had a hard time believing it in the first place.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it came from a fairly reputable source. I think it was the Wall Street Journal. So,
yeah, it's very possible that the Wall Street Journal picked up on something that was probably in talks. But that doesn't mean that Nintendo necessarily approves of it.
Yeah, that's true.
Because Nintendo is still sort of protective with what they do, and they like to keep stuff closely to their chest.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have believed, like, if it was a bit more final, but even from a respectable source, I had a hard time that Nintendo would go on with something like it, because they want to make sure that whatever they put out relating to one of their franchises of the utmost quality, and making it like this Netflix thing and making it super friendly for families, doesn't necessarily make it really Zelda-esque.
Yeah, it seemed a bit unlikely, but based on what you want to said, it definitely doesn't seem like it's happening, or it's not. At least it's not the same thing as what was reported in that Wall Street Journal article.
Oh yeah.
Other than that, though, there was an interesting little nugget that I wanted to talk about, and that was how Shigeru Miyamoto kind of pushed for the super stable 3D with the new 3DS hardware. So basically, they were finishing up the design and everything, and they were about ready to send it off and everything, but Miyamoto saw the super stable 3D feature, and he's like, oh, we got to put that in. And that's how it made it in.
Yep, he upended the tea table.
Yep. So basically, we have Miyamoto to thank for the super stable 3D and the new 3DS.
Yep, we have a lot of things to thank for Miyamoto.
Yes, he's a very good man.
For he has also made some slight missteps in the past.
Yeah. Another interview with Iwata came up, and it was briefly about the NX. It was with a Japanese publication, and he's basically saying that if you expand upon existing hardware, it's dull, and that you basically need to think about how to surprise players and how to change a person's video gaming life. So I thought that was an interesting comment. We're going to be getting these little teases, unfortunately, over the next year, because they're not going to really say much about it until then, but I thought that was a little...
Yeah, because they don't want to expand on the console, because they want to expand on the name. That's what they did with the Wii U.
Yeah. But,
So I don't think they will repeat that same mistake ever again.
I hope not. I really hope not.
Because it really kind of made the marketing difficult.
Yeah.
I am really excited what they're going to do with NX. Not sure what that new concept is that they're talking about. But who knows?
More information in 2016. We just gotta hold on and wait until then.
Yeah, we have to wait a really long while to learn about anything related to the console.
Darn you for announcing that early, Iwata. Alright, let's talk a bit about Splatoon. So I think one of the reasons why people thought we were going to be getting a Nintendo Direct this week is because people were being flown out to Seattle, which is Nintendo of America's
Or
headquarters.
or in Europe to Europe's main office in Frankfurt.
That too. So I think a lot of people were speculating that there was going to be a new Nintendo Direct with what people were seeing, but it just turns out that it was for Splatoon, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No, I always want see more Splatoon.
Yep, we got a bunch of new footage, a new trailer, and some information.
A bunch of new footage. We got extremely amounts of footage.
That's probably a better way of putting it.
Like, I put a post together, it was like 25 videos, so...
Yeah, it seemed like everyone was recording videos, so...
It was amazing to watch, because it was like over 2 hours of gameplay. And I've watched a lot of that. I really enjoyed watching all of that, and that made me more excited for Splatoon, so...
Same here. I feel like Splatoon has come a long way, in my opinion, and I'm definitely more interested in it now than I was back at E3.
I was excited when I played it after E3. It's like, this could be a really cool game. But I wasn't really sure because it was only like the proof of concept with just one mode and just one map. But seeing how it evolved with the various maps, the single player mode and the options that it has, I think it could be like my game of the year for Wii U this year. I think that's a very likely possibility, particularly with Zelda now out of the picture.
I feel like the single player kind of sold it for me because, I mean, I'm going to try out the multiplayer for sure, but I'm more of a single player person, and I really like what they've shown from the single player so far.
Yeah, they're both kind of similar in concept though, though there is a bit more platforming in the single player campaign.
Right, and I actually saw a preview, I think it was from IGN, who kind of compared it to Super Mario Galaxy in a way. I mean, obviously they're very different, but there was a little bit of a comparison there, and that kind of caught my eye.
Yeah. I was also really impressed with how positive like Eurogamer were. I saw their 15-minute discussion on it, and their video producer wasn't really a Nintendo guy, but he got really into the discussion and really, really liked the game. So there was a variety of people who were really, really positive about it, which makes me more happy and confirms my positive feelings I had during like preview sessions at E3.
And now we know about Ranked Battle, which kind of keeps track of each player's online ranking, and one of these is Splat Zone, which lets players try to control the terrain of specific areas of the map with their ink blasts.
Yeah, it's kind of like Capture the Flag, but a bit more expanded in that regard.
And there's going to be
nice.
And there's going to be rankings from C- to A+. If anyone cares about rankings.
I kind of do.
I guess the one negative thing, if you can even call it that, is that a certain amount of players will have to be at a level 10, and then it's going to unlock after launch. So this won't be coming right away. It's going to come after launch. So once a certain number of players have hit level 10, then Nintendo's going to open up this ranked battle stuff.
That is fine. It will be absolutely fine.
Yeah. And I don't know if this bothers you or not, but there's going to be no voice chat. We know that officially now.
I didn't really care about that. Skype is way better for that stuff to begin with. I mean, let's be honest here for a second, right? Who wants to talk with their friends with the microphone of the Wii U gamepad?
That's a good point. I can see why people are upset, though.
I understand why people are upset, but again, let's be honest here. Who wants to talk with the microphone of the Wii U gamepad? Very
true. That is very true. Alright, let's talk a little bit about Smash Brothers, because we got a little bit of news from Masahiro Sakurai, the game's director.
Mashed potato samurai.
Alright, so Sakurai said at a recent event in Japan, I think it was a tournament actually, that Mewtwo DLC for Smash Brothers Wii U and 3DS is pretty much done, and that we're going to be seeing it pretty soon. And fans are advised to wait for an announcement from Nintendo, basically.
Guys, I think he's talking about a Nintendo Direct.
I was just going to bring that up. You know, we may get a Nintendo Direct next week or soon, and maybe Mewtwo will be released after that. Yeah,
I honestly think that the Nintendo Direct will be next week. Though, if that Nintendo Direct is next week, I'm not sure if Mewtwo will be released directly. I know that is when roughly the registration ends for getting Mewtwo.
On Club Nintendo.
Yeah, because I think it ends on the 30th of March.
Something like that. It's definitely
Yeah.
at the very end of March.
But I'm not sure if they have then all the systems ready to make sure that everybody gets a code. It really depends. It could be a few days later. It could be also directly on the spot, and they could be really surprising us. But I'm not sure yet. We'll see.
Yeah, we will see. And another tidbit from Sakurai is that Takamaru from Mysterious Murasame Castle was initially considered as a fighter in the game.
Yeah.
That was interesting, I felt like.
I think he could have worked as a fighter too.
I'm not terribly upset that he's not in, but it would have been neat to see him playable.
Well, I would have liked to see him as a playable character, similar to how he took on Pit from Kid Icarus and made him back into a new modern character. I would have kind of liked to see that with Takamaru. Like, with Duck on Dock, you can not really do anything that expands his universe or broadens his horizon. Except if you want to make like a really new Dokkan game, which they kind of already did with the Virtual Console version on Wii U,
Right.
which is now extremely different with the remote pointer controls. But I think Takamaru would have worked as like a revival character, like testing the waters and see if people like him.
Yeah.
Because just having his name attached to a minigame in Nintendo Land, you don't really have a feeling with that.
Well, yeah, you don't really associate with the character or anything.
Yeah, I think if he would have tried it, he could have become like a Kid Icarus situation all over again.
That would
I think it would have definitely could have happened or could have worked out in that direction.
That would have been very neat, actually. You know, it could have been neat to see him in a new game or something, eventually.
Yeah.
But basically, the reason why he wasn't in, which kind of like just messes up the whole situation, is that Sakurai didn't think that he'd be popular among fans. But obviously, you can't really get him popular if he's not in the game. You know, like if they did put him in, it could have been like built up a base for the character. What I'm saying, and then maybe
Yeah.
So it would have been interesting to see him in, but it wasn't meant to be.
Sadly, not.
Alright, so I think that's it for this week's most important Nintendo news. Obviously, the big doozy was Zelda Wii U being delayed, which is unfortunate, but it's still in the works, and it's probably going to be a very, very, very good game.
Hopefully.
That sounded very sad.
And then the Zelda cycle starts all over again.
Oh, God. You know, it's probably going to be another 5 years before we see a Zelda console game after this.
Yeah, that is extremely likely, yeah.
So it's going to be like 2021 or something.
I wonder... I still kind of wonder what an NX will be, because we have not really talked about it much, and I'm sure you talked about it last week a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I wonder how it will turn out for 3DS, because currently that's their most popular platform, how long that will stick around. If NX is actually a console, if it is a handheld, is it hybrid of the two? It's really hard to say. And I'm kind of excited at the same time. I'm super worried because like the momentum that they had with the 3DS it's still kind of there, but it's also kind of gone. Like it's if and if. And I really hope that they know what they're doing and bring some good games to the second half of this year, because Japan is already getting a few, but there's not much planned for North America or Europe related to the 3DS for the second half.
Maybe we'll see some announcements at E3. Hopefully.
Maybe we'll finally see Yokai Watch.
That would be very nice. I really want to see that game already. It's been too long.
Yeah, it would be really nice to have that game here. So I wonder if Nintendo will take it on. We'll see.
Alright, yes, we will see. So one more thing, just before we close this out, and this is something that we may do in the future depending on how things go, but basically, on the site, by the time people see this, we are going to be kicking off a new feature called Let's Talk, and basically, it is our chance to talk about different topics each week, and I'm going to be kicking things off in basically one post. There'll be a random topic each week, and then everyone else who's on the site will be able to post their comments and their reactions to the topic. And this topic is very simple, and it's called, well, not called, but it's what is your favorite Nintendo game? And I'm going to be basically explaining what mine is in our post. Okay, what I'll do is I'll tell you what it is here, but I'll tell you why in the actual post. So my pick is Zelda Ocarina of Time. And Dan, I'm curious as to what your favorite Nintendo game is. And I should specify... Wait, let me just specify.
Okay.
It could be any game for any Nintendo system, so it doesn't even have to be made by Nintendo. So as long as it's any game on a Nintendo platform for any Nintendo system, it's eligible.
Okay. Phew. I'm kind of swaying between two. Okay. My favorite Nintendo game is, if I'm being honest, it's Fire Emblem Awakening.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I was always an enthusiast for the Fire Emblem franchise, but I didn't like it as much as I would have. And then I tried Fire Emblem Awakening, I think in April 2012 when it released in Japan. And I played through that game in just a couple of sittings. I played that game all the way through because I liked it that much. And I played it through a bunch of times more, then played the English version, played it a bunch of times more through too. And I played this game at this point through like 7 times. And I'm still finding like different ways to tackle certain maps. And I've almost tried every single difficulty except for Lunatic Plus, which is insane. Don't do that to yourself. It's really, really painful. But yeah, what I liked about that game was the story. I liked the wittiness of the characters. I liked what they did with the DLC components. I liked what they did with the Street Pass and Spot Pass options. Like, that game was extremely complete in what it delivered. And next to it, the game was just solid too. Like, it had a really good style to it. The various gameplay elements were so stringed, well put together. Like, there are like similar tactics to them in the previous Fire Emblem games, but how well they are stringed in one long quick turn next to one another, the action just flows really fast in that game. And that made me enjoy it so much, because I don't like games that waste your time. Like, a lot of games, and this is also kind of true for some games with Nintendo recently, really want to explain everything to you. And that was kind of a problem, for example, I had with Mario Luigi Dream Team. While I really liked that game, that game had a really dreadful beginning. But Fire Emblem Awakening just started and didn't let you go. It just wanted to keep going. And it was a game for me that it didn't want to end. And when the game does that, that's when it's perfect for you.
All right.
The funny part is this is just a side note, just to end on. My second pick would have been like on the second spot, like the one I kind of thought about and chose as my second. Was Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door.
Oh.
And funny enough, they are both from the same company, which is Intelligent Systems. And I love that RPG also, because that also an RPG that doesn't waste your time, is really remarkable, and it's just really witty with really cool dialogue and RPG features. And those two games, so you kind of also see what my interests are, those two games do a lot of things right. And funny enough, they're from the same people that make those games, and it's kind of interesting to see that Paper Mario has taken on such a different direction the last couple of times around, and it kind of died up with Sticker Star. But yeah, I really like what Intelligent Systems makes for the most part now, and I kind of can't wait what they will do with Fire Emblem Myth.
Yeah, that's coming later this year in Japan. Is it coming this year in the West?
I'm not sure. They said summer for Japan, and for the rest I don't really know.
Yeah. But both those games are good choices, I think.
Yeah, I really like what they do with those games.
Alright, so guys, we will have a topic up on the site. It'll essentially be a forum posted away, and we're going to let all of you chat, and I will be in the comments section replying to different responses, and we're also going to be highlighting one of the responses for next week's topic. So we have a lot going on with this, and again, you could find it on NintendoEverything.com. lots of talking hopefully will happen.
Lots of chatting, lots of talking, lots of discussions, hopefully.
Lots of writing. So I think we will wrap it up for today. And if you have any comments whatsoever, be it about just the chat or our new feature, you can send us an email or you can write a comment on YouTube or on NintendoEverything.com.
And if you want to shout at me, just follow me on Twitter.
Yep.
Which is at Nintendaan. That is NINTENDAAN. And there you can shout at me how wrong I am sometimes.
And hopefully, if I don't forget, I'll have all of this information in the YouTube comments and on the site with links and everything you need to know. And again, by the time you all hear this, the new feature will be up. And yeah, I think that's it.
Right. Then I say it's a wrap.
Yep. Dan, I will talk to you next time. And everyone, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.
Thank you and good night. Or good morning or good afternoon. Whenever you're listening to this. Goodbye.
Right, bye, everyone.